All right, y'all. Welcome to Desert Devils' first initial beginning episode one podcast. My name's Nate. I got Bryce here with me. We are the Desert Devils, so aptly named. But yeah, we're here to talk about United. Hopefully, bring some good perspectives and some fun a bit in a time when it's kind of frustrating to be a United fan. So um,
Frustrating, sure. But
yeah,
hey, we're optimistic. There's plenty of positivity out there. There's plenty of things to be excited about. It's the summer, right? Last season's over, new season's coming. We're gonna keep a happy outlook. I will not be this chipper throughout the season. Nate knows. He's seen me all the time when it's a 1-0 defeat to Fulham or some crap like that. How angry I can get. So we're gonna keep it positive at least as long as I can. It's sunny. It's not 100 degrees today in Phoenix, Arizona. Thank the Lord. So plenty to be happy about, Nate. Plenty to be
there
happy.
is. There is. And I'm not I won't ever be too negative. It's going to get annoying and people are going to hate it, but I can't live my life that way.
Throwing him a curveball out of the gate. I'm being more positive, and you're
Well, I
you're
know it's going to
more
get to
pessimistic.
you. I know it's going to get to you at some point, but I just there's enough there's enough there's enough fans out there who just bash the club over and over or decisions or players or whatever, and that's just not me. So you guys will get to know me really well in that sense. I'm always finding the silver lining somewhere, um, because like Scotty Scheffler's saying right now, there's more to life than this. This is just supposed to be fun. We're supposed to enjoy it, and yeah, it sucks when we lose 1-0 to Fulham, absolutely. But I think we can always at least come together and find common ground in the fact that we are United fans and we support the best club in the whole world. So,
Best club in the world.
all right. So, I'm sure everybody had a chance. If you didn't, I'm sure the highlights are out there. Leeds versus United. That was a barn burner of a match that
Yeah.
I I remember every match, at least the preseason stuff, starting that way. Like, just guys are trying to get their legs under them. Obviously, they've been training for a little over a week before that match, putting some time in. But from my perspective, kind of seeing that match is guys are trying to figure out where they're going to place. I think one thing Amarin's done really nicely through the season is tell guys, if you're going to be here, you got to play. If not, you're not playing. I mean, what manager dealt with Rashford the way he did? And so from like watching the players out there, like they're giving what they can, giving everything they have, and seeing guys like run full field. I mean, none of us can ever forget watching Rashford jog down the pitch
Yeah.
after he gave up the ball or something. Like, it's ridiculous. So the match
It
was
looked like
not
someone was
exciting.
playing FIFA and stuck on controlling him, and then just like wasn't actually moving the controller from time to time. Like that's kind of what it reminded me
Yeah,
of.
the controller
It's like,
froze. Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
that.
it's like, oh,
Uh,
you've been disconnected. And he's just standing there doing one of these. I feel like that's what it was. But no, I feel like this group obviously is 0-0 draw, underwhelming at best. But again, it's preseason. The big thing for me was some of the newer players coming in and just getting to see a little bit of time with Cunha out there, and getting to see Leon, who got a start at left wing back. I mean, obviously, RA's tweaking with stuff and just seeing, again, it's preseason. It doesn't matter. It doesn't count. It's okay that it was 0-0 to Leeds playing most of their scrubs. That's totally fine. I wasn't upset at all. But no, it was good to see the first couple in there minutes, first half for again for Cunha and for Leon. Kind of, we'll get to some of the signing stuff here a little bit later, but I want to hone in on kind of what I saw from Cunha a little bit, and you can tell me kind of what your thoughts are on this. But there were a couple of sparks, and again, it was an overall ho hum snooze fest as far as kind of the pace of it and the back and forth of it. It was very mild,
yeah, it was.
but there were moments where we saw why we might have signed him for 62.5 million pounds. There were glimpses of it. I remember specifically one instance we were hemmed in for a few minutes, in the defensive third. Ball got cleared. It ended up coming to him. Two defenders on him. Back to goal. Receives the ball. Feints one way. Dribbles outside. Cuts in between. Earns a free kick. We're out. Right? It was, a few minutes of sustained pressure. Ball finds him once. The one time the ball finds him, we're away. It was a foul, free kick. Otherwise, we're off on a counter. Right? There were another couple of instances when we're transitioning from the middle third into the attacking third, where again, same thing, ball to his feet, back to goal, spin in between two defenders, and we're away. Right? With there was a free kick. I think it was roughly around the 23rd-ish minute. I might be off by a couple, but where again, same thing, splits two defenders, gets brought down. If he gets through, he's running at their back four with multiple runners alongside him. So those are the reasons that you bring that guy in, right? I mean, we talk about his goal production from last season, being top five, top three in the league, right, with his goal contributions. If you look at and I'm not overly a numbers guy, but statistically, if you look at the top five like ratings where they give you the numerical match ratings, right, 3, 4, 5, Mbuemo, Cunha, Fernandez, maybe not in that order, but those three, 4, and 5 in the top five. And so we saw some flashes of what Cunha can do when he gets the ball at his feet, breaking lines with a dribble, and again, moving quickly into an attacking position. The link-up play wasn't there. It's preseason, right?
Yeah,
it wasn't.
it's, they look like they just got to preseason. I mean,
Yeah, there was a lot of
that's
rust. There was no real pattern play hardly that you could see, but that'll come, right, with time. And so it'll be interesting to see the way that, obviously we'll talk about this again, but with the new recent signing who was taking his medical today, there's pictures of him and his agent at Old Trafford, or at Carrington, no big deal. Not excited at all. New number 19, baby. But it was interesting to see what his cohesion now ends up looking like with guys like, again, he played with Cheeto Obi Martin, who led the line. Again, it's another surpriser, right? But what does it look like with him and Bruno, right, getting on the same wavelength? What is it going to look like with, again, maybe Dorgu is our first choice left wing back in Amarim's system, even though he played with Lyon to start with? What's that connection going to look like? Because obviously Cunha is going to likely play a lot more at that left-sided 10, right? So what does that look like with him building? What is it going to look like with left center back? Again, Luke Shaw took the 45 minutes with him. But those are the things throughout the preseason tour that I'm looking forward to. But I thought were interesting, at least for this Leeds match, where we saw glimpses, we saw glimmers of, oh, that's why we dropped the back.
yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
And that was, at least for the first half, my takeaway. I've got more from the second half, but at least for the first half, seeing him on the pitch, what I like to see. I don't know if there were any specific first half takeaways you had, or just takeaways from the match overall that kind of stood out to you.
Not specifically. Even in the whole match, it felt like, I mean, uncontested. Obviously, second half, Heaton had some great saves, two or three saves that, I mean, watching him ball out at 39 is pretty cool. But again, just preseason. Obviously, we're going to talk a bit more about transfer signings, but Deer in goal. Onana's obviously working on come back from a bit of an injury he got. So I think seeing the players that at least had been there from day one, from when everyone had to report back and get started again, I thought it was a bit impressive to know, because last season, we had Diallo as kind of an attacker, like running at people, trying to make things happen. Bruno obviously is unafraid, which I know pisses some people off because he's trying stuff, but I love it. And just like Ferguson used to tell the boys back then, like, entertain me. I'm here to see what you guys can do. Like, entertain me, do something, flick the ball, like, make it happen. Like, I want to see it. And so I think seeing Cunha and Fernandez there, and obviously adding in another signing who is in that top five of statistic wise as far as top performers from last season. Um, adding Cunha and Bueno now and Bruno, you've got three of the top five in the league last year that did that. Now, if you look at it, if you look at that list from top five, all five players are from different teams. So it's not like you have top five creating, scoring, assisting, across the board with guys on the same team, like where you kind of have two or three guys that are top performers that way. So I'm interested to see how Cunha and Fernandez, even watching them against Leeds, hooked up just fine. I feel like there's not another person, at least in that match. Diallo did great running down the right. I didn't see anything new. I was more worried about him coming back after injuries and stuff from last year. Always makes me nervous those first few games when you're after a long layoff, just making sure you get through those. And I thought they did great. So 0-0, not a big deal in my opinion. I think the biggest thing I've always wanted to see are guys getting into shape. Are they starting to link up? Are they starting to connect with one another? And I mean, first match, I was just excited to have a United match back to watch, and kind of start feeling that fun and excitement and nervousness again. But at the same time, at this point, I don't think you can overanalyze the preseason matches too much. Maybe seeing some of the kids play, obviously, like you said, Shaw, Leon, Dorgu, guys that we saw. You've seen the pictures, obviously, of Casemiro, Shaw, like coming back, looking very thin and in better shape. Than being a bit. It's not even overweight, in my opinion, but at least to the standards that are required for that. I thought like those are the things I'm looking for, and that's what I feel like I saw.
So until he absolutely balls out, he's gonna have this nickname. So Luke Shaw, there's a running joke in our household. My wife likes Luke Shaw. She thinks he's a good player. Obviously, he's got his fitness issues. And I feel like he's always maybe been a little on the chunkier side, at least as far as football players go. So I call him Lukey Cheeseburger. And it pisses my wife off a little bit because she's like, he's not that big, Bryce. Like, you're
He's
being
not.
so mean. And I am. I'm being a little mean. But the fact that he hasn't been healthy, he hasn't stayed fit, I call him Lukey Cheeseburger. That's my nickname for him. I'm never going to not call him that unless he gets
Kind of
healthy.
rude as hell, but
It is. It's super mean. I'm aware of the fact that it's derogatory, and I'm sorry. But until he gets fit and balls out for us a little bit, he's Lukey Cheeseburger for me. Now, that being said, you touched on it because there were the posts on the United Instagram page, right, when they all came back for training week one, and him and Casemiro both looking a little leaner, a little slimmer, maybe a little bit more, right, compact. He came back looking more like Lukey chicken salad wrap. You know what I mean? Like, he was a little bit more with it, and I can appreciate that.
yeah,
Obviously, you go back to the major leg injury that kind of spurred these continuous problems that he's had over the last few years. At the end of the day, when he was at his prime before a lot of these injuries, I feel like he could have been arguably one of the top three, if not, definitely top five, easily top three left backs on the planet when he was really humming. So it would behoove us to have another really good left back, at least as an option, because he can play left center back. If you wanted to throw him out at left wing back in a pinch. So it was good seeing him out there, to your point, looking a little slimmer. Maybe it was the white with the lavender accents that made him look
it
a little
does.
thin.
It was slimming. It made those look
They were
slim.
slim,
And
right?
he's
He
been.
looked like
This
a
is.
skeleton in those things. That's how slim
Oh
he is.
yeah, I'm
The
gonna have to
margin.
see how they look in person. But you,
Yeah. But no, it
this
was good to
is,
see him out there as
and this
well.
is his 11th season with us. Like this is. It's wild to think that from everything he's gone through
Yeah.
to the fact that 11 years. I mean, I can
Got to
still
be the
see
longest
that.
tenured at this point now with one of the exits that's going from the academy.
Yeah,
It's hard to
maybe. I mean, as far as that, but first team length, I can't. I don't think now that Rashford's
yeah,
gone or
Rashford. We've got
or heading on another loan, at least like he's the one, and I can still see that leg break.
yeah.
I can every time I close my eyes, I can see that dude coming through. No card given, just a just a crazy tackle right through somebody. And before that, he was balling.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was the player we had been. I mean, what was it? Maybe a season or two we were linked with him. Chelsea too, like they were saying that's where he's at. But obviously, since then we've gotten glimpses and flashes, and I just don't know after those kind of things how your body reacts. And obviously, we've seen him, but seeing him come into camp looking how he
Fitness.
looked,
Just stay fit, mate. Just stay
right?
fit.
And I think that the biggest thing he can do is stay fit, and he'll get his chances. He's Premier League proven. He's been around a while. He's played with these guys. He's obviously him and Bruno. I mean, these guys that are coming up and attacking are finally like spending time together. So it was good to see him out there.
One last thing I want to touch on before on the Leeds match, and you can chime in with a response to it before we move on. But two players, and specifically their inability to link up in the second half, that I think is going to have an impact on the rest of the window and the rest of the season. Diogo Dalot and Rasmus Højlund. Obviously, I feel like the majority of fans are like, get rid of Rasmus. He's terrible. He can't play. He's awful. As someone who played that position, obviously nowhere near at this level. Obviously.
Obviously.
Obviously. I mean, come on. 30. Back in my late 20s, beer league.
Yeah.
Beer league.
Arizona
stuff.
Men's League, top of the.
Arizona Men's Beer League. Yeah, who cares? Right? Shut up, bro. No one cares. No, but he gets knocked for his inability to score goals. It's your job as a 9 is to score goals.
Got to score.
The Højlund defenders, the guys, the people that stick up for him always say, well, he doesn't get service. And I'm so on the fence because I feel like if you don't get good service sometimes because your movement stinks. And if your movement is good, you're oftentimes going to get better service. It's on you a bit as a striker for your movement to be able to
100%.
get it.
Absolutely.
There were multiple instances in that second half against Leeds where I am screaming at the television, and mind you, it's 7:15 in the morning. My 16-month-old has just woken up, and she hears me yelling in the living room. Of Diogo Dalot with the ball on the right side, and Rasmus Højlund making a good run, making a well-timed run at a proper angle, and Dalot doesn't slip him in. There were two instances that I saw where
Yeah, I know the two you're talking about.
Dalot plays the ball at the right time. Højlund has either the option of a first-time shot relatively within the posts of the goal, or at worst within the width of the 6. So good angle for a first-time hit as we're running behind. Or he can step on it, cut it back, try one with his opposite foot, or lay one off to somebody else and create. Two different instances where he had a clear-cut half chance. Again, I'm not going to say a full scoring chance, but at least a half chance if Dalot plays the freaking ball properly. And he didn't. And that's been one of my biggest things with Diogo Dalot, and one of the reasons why I'm like, if we want to get a right wing back, let's do that. Or at the very minimum, let's play Ahmad at right wing back so that we can bench Dalot, right? Because how many times have we seen Dalot previously either lose a runner on the back post and we get scored on, or again, in these instances, we're in the final third, and if he plays a freaking proper pass, we can at least have a half chance to score a goal. And it happens, I think, with him all the time, and I like the dude a ton. He's a super likable dude, and for the most part, he works his tail off, so I like him.
No, he works hard. He did all last season, and it was the same issue. Who found him when they needed to?
Left center back, left wing back, when we were in the back 4, left back, even. Like, he's playing out of position. Coach says jump, he says how high. And we need more of that, right? There's other players that went to Italy and won Player of the Year that we used to have. That I'm
don't bring that up. Don't
I'm
don't
totally
bring that
not
up.
still bitter about that. Not
Most
bitter.
confusing thing I've ever been a part of.
Mixed sauce. Anyway, rip. But Dalot has those moments where he doesn't do the right thing for me. And that's why, again, I would love it if he was more of a squad rotation guy. But again, that brings me back to the point of Højlund, of he would have had chances. And then, of course, the poor kid, right after these two moments where then he does get the ball, nothing happens because it was improper timing. The very next time we're attacking, good cutback. Dorgu gets the shot on goal, and it hits Rasmus Højlund right in the backside.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, and then see, you do something that's somebody else's fault for it not working, and I want to defend you, and then you block our own shot right off your butt.
I know. Let me ask you something on that. So this it feels like it's been a common theme with us for the past 5, 6 seasons that we can't seem to find the right runner at the right times, right? Like you obviously, just like you said, those two opportunities, Delogue can slide it. I mean, just get the ball over to him. Like striker has to make the runs that they make at the right times, but it's up to the person with the ball to also understand that. And I feel like that's been one of the biggest things that's held us back. Even last season, 50 times, maybe more, you're talking about Højlund being in a spot he should or making a run that he should while somebody's pulling the ball back to maybe switch it instead of looking at that runner on attack. And I feel like we're missing that. Like we seem to somehow miss this connection that can be more possible with players. And you see a lot of some of the other teams who score more frequently than we did, which is most of the teams in the league last year. But the idea that they're finding each other at the moments they should, and we seem to be a step or two behind. Like those cogs, just they're not sliding in. They keep hitting.
For me, and again, Dallo being the one to have properly slipped Højlund in, I feel like more often than not we find ourselves, and we did several times last year, of non-creative players in creative situations. That's the biggest thing for me. And again, we can knock RA a little bit maybe for squad choices last season. Again, we're looking forward, but there was a lot of defensive players on the pitch in multiple areas of the pitch as we meandered our way through the second half of the Premier League season. Diogo Dallo is a good right back. He is not an offensive-minded player that does intelligent, defensive-minded things. I mean, I remember a goal he scored last year when he was playing left back inverted, and he hits the beautiful right-footed bender into the far corner. Of course, he's a professional footballer that can play at the international level, right?
Well, he only scores worldies when he scores.
Right. So he has the capability to do things that make your jaw hit the floor, and you got to roll your tongue back up into your mouth and pick your jaw back up. Like, he has the ability to do stuff like that. But if you give him 10 offensive situations where he has to make the right decision, I would say 2 or 3 times out of 10, he's making the right decision.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm being critical. Maybe it's 5 or 6. But if the 5 or 6 aren't done at exactly the right time, they're wrong again. And
I'm sure it's more, but
if you have a player like Ahmad, who hopefully will be playing the right wing back for the majority of the time, he's a player where if I put him in 10 offensive situations, I have a lot higher confidence he's going to make the right decision at the right time more frequently out of 10 than a Diogo Dallo. Right? And that's just looking at it through the system that RA wants to play. And so, and that's the biggest thing. And this is, I guess, maybe a great, segue into what we think of the transfer window so far. But that's been the biggest thing is, okay, we brought Ruben in mid-season last year so he could dissect what is and isn't working with the squad currently. And then we get into January where we got Dorgu and we got the pre-sign, if you want to call it that, of Leon. And then we get to summer now and it's clear, okay, we finished how freaking low in goals, right? Last season, it was terrible. And I'm going to look it up now because it's going to bug the heck out of me. I think it was 14th. 44 goals last season, right? Which is atrocious. There's 38 games. We scored 44 goals.
Well,
Barely.
What was our goal difference?
Barely more than a goal a game. It wasn't good.
I think we finished negative like 3 or 4 goals in goal difference, and that's got to be the biggest thing we have to address. And I know that's what they're addressing. Cunha scored goals. I think the majority of his goals were penalties.
It's 6.
Okay, so they weren't. So, but his creativity in that Wolves side that doesn't have a lot of creativity. That's a side that works hard, very compact defensively, hard to break down, etc. But he found a way to use creativity and exploit that. I mean, even against us when we played him. So I know, like finishing off this, this talk about the Leeds match as our first match, like honestly, it's the first match. The guys have been together. They've been back together for 2 weeks
Oh,
now,
2 weeks.
and now we can move on. Obviously, we got the U.S. tour coming up. They're headed out in a couple of days, so it's gonna start. It's gonna start peaking. Games are gonna start happening every few days over this time period. But surely, I mean, we still obviously we know that they're still after a striker. And but until we can find somebody, I think in midfield that can control the games a lot better, I think we're still going to get bum rushed through the midfield a lot more than we should. But if we can cross off the fact that we can't score goals, because we could probably spend 4 episodes going through matches and saying, had we scored one goal more in this match, it'd have been different. It had turned out a totally different match. So hopefully, what we saw in the Leeds match is just. I mean, I've chalked it off to preseason and moved on because
Yeah.
it is what it is. But I think it is time that we start looking at who's coming in to help us from the issues we had last year into this year. So
Yeah.
obviously we know who we
Well,
signed, but yeah, take us through that.
yeah. So again, Mateus Cunha, 15 goals last season, all non-pen goals, by the way, according to our statmuse.com. Shout out, they're a sponsor of the show. They're not.
If they want to
15.
be, they can.
Hey, give me a phone call. No, but 15 goals last year for the season. Obviously, Brian Mbuemo with 20. So we're adding 35 goals. Now, Mbuemo did take penalties himself, so there are some pen goals in there, but still, 35 goals being added in 2 signings to a team that only scored 44 in the entire Premier League last season, right? Cunha scored those 15 goals in 33 matches. He did miss 5 matches last season, or didn't appear in 5 matches. Brian Mbuemo appeared in all 38 Premier League matches for his 20 goals. So again, 35 goals to a team that scored 44 last season. At the minimum, we're not going to score freaking 44 again. And to your
No.
point, while we're like, this season, I hate calling it this, but are we calling it another quote unquote rebuilding year? I mean, again, we'll get to a season preview in episode either episode 3 or episode 4 of the season. We want to get through the tour a little bit more, but for sake of again talking about the window so far, I'm okay with it. The Cunha deal coming out right out of the gate, I loved it. 62 and a half. I'll be honest, off the gate, I'm thinking, ooh, that's maybe a little steep, right? I've got flashbacks of panic buy for Casemiro. I've got flashbacks of panic buy for Anthony, the human fidget spinner. I will not call him anything else. You guys are going to learn. I nickname everybody. People are going to hate my nickname for our previous number 10 when we get to that. Um, but but again, 62 and a half. I was like, okay, we needed him. He's got goals. He's creative. I remember watching us against Wolves thinking, I do not like having to deal with this dude. He's making us look silly. So grateful for that.
Yeah,
Right?
absolutely.
The very, very, right. So, but again, I thought maybe a little high. But then you start seeing some of the other signings, and again, I'm glad we got Mbuemo done. Again, 65 plus 6 in add-ons for 71 total. But let's just call it what it is. It's 65, right? We don't know how many of those add-ons are we're going to have to end up paying to get to 71. But for now, 65.
Hopefully every single one of them. Hopefully every last one of them.
And exactly, gladly, because that means he's performing. But we were told, right, the summer budget was going to be 125 prior to the window. Budget was 125, and outgoings. Now we've gotten Cunha in, we've gotten Bueno essentially in, right? Contract being signed. We'll get the pictures on social media. I'm assuming tomorrow, right? Everybody's back to work on Monday. All the publicists will be showing us what you want to see. But those two are done for 127 and a half. So right around that budget. Anything else coming in is going to be based on outgoings. I'm okay with the business we've done so far. I'm a little, obviously, like a lot of people, we would have loved to see the Embuemo deal not take 39 days or 38 days or whatever the heck it was.
38. That's generous.
I
I
mean,
think
but again,
if they announce him tomorrow, I think the total amount of days this deal is gone is 51. From I think, and that's from the first, and it's hard to know like who,
the first day of the
what's the
window.
start day, like who connected him first. But I mean, we're still talking about the fact that it almost took 2 months to make sure that we got him in. So that's, and I mean, I didn't read enough, and I'm not sure even that it was discussed enough. Are we talking? Maybe you did, but are we talking there was 2 million difference, 10 million difference? There were other things that haven't been said, so we're not quite sure exactly why. Both sides were just
So
being
many
patient.
rumors back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's and see, and this is the thing for me, and following along with it the whole time, is I have my left brain and I'm the right half of my brain, and they've been lobbing freaking missiles back and forth with each other in the argument of this transfer specifically. Because, again, I have like I see the numbers of what we're paying for players, and again, it's not my money. So at the end of the day, fork it over, Jim. But there's definitely like mini PTSD of panic buys for Anthony. We paid what 80 million for him, right? We overpaid for Casemiro. There's been so many players where we have overpaid, and so yes, part of me is like, I love it. Take the time that we need. Negotiate the best deal. Try to drive down the price. Really hammer it to them, guys. Let's get every penny pinched we can so that 6 months from now we're not looking back at the transfer going, oh my God, we paid way too much. So there's that half of me. And then there's the other half that says, we're Manchester freaking United. Get off of your darn wallet. Pay the money. Get the player. So that's been, and again, I feel like has been a lot of back and forth around that throughout the transfer saga, that we can call it here. But ultimately, my final resting place, at least on this specific deal, is at least that if you look at what else has been purchased, right, the other players at the amounts that they've been paid for, I think 65 is actually pretty dang good. Scored 20
Agreed.
goals last season. Right? Like Newcastle just paid 55 million pounds for Anthony Elanga. He had 7 goals,
Yeah.
right? He wasn't absolutely killing it, right? You look at some of the other players, right? Arsenal signing, was it Madueke from Chelsea? I'm blanking on the name, right? But
Hmm.
you see what Arsenal did, signing another fringe kind of okay starter from Chelsea for the mid 50s, right? You look at other deals across the league, and they're all within that 50 to 60 million pound window for guys that were starters, but nowhere near fringe elite level,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
None of
primarily
them.
proven. I think that price tag comes with the fact that like you're in the league and you know what's going on. Alonga, he's been here a while, and I
Right, and
think
I
for
like him. I
Forrest,
think he would have cooked in a dual 10 under Amorim if he never left United. He
agreed.
could work in that position. But the fact that he cost Newcastle 55 million pounds,
It's wild. That's fucking wild. I can't
right?
understand it. In all
And again,
honesty,
if you look at that specifically, right, that doesn't justify the difference. So again, if we looked for, and again, I'm pulling up, his goals and assists in 25, just because I want to make sure I got the number right. I'm trying to use 6 goals and 11 assists in 38 appearances. So 17 goals. He created 17 goals in all 38 matches. 17 for 55 million pounds. Buemo scored 20. That doesn't include his assists. So
yeah.
he's got 3 more goal contributions just in what he scored not including that I believe it was 7 that he assisted. So he's got 10 more goal contributions in the same amount of matches, and we're only paying 10 million more.
Yeah, and he added 7 assists in that.
Yeah,
I mean,
27 goal contributions for 65 million. Alanga had 17 for 55 million. So he had not even 2/3, but roughly, we'll give him one extra just for the sake of easy math. 2/3 as many goal contributions as Mbuemo, and he cost way more. 2/3 of 65 would have been 42. So he's 13 million more than the same ratio of the actual goal contributions that he had. Now,
yeah,
playing on Nottingham Forest, you could say, hey, maybe he would have had more goals or assists or contributions had he been on a slightly better team. Newcastle is obviously taking a bet that him coming into that side, he's going to be a little bit more productive.
well, more productive, and I think his energy is the biggest thing I noticed with Forrest last year. Like he reminds me of like a lot of Ahmad, just that aggressive pressing, always kind of in spaces, kind of mixing it up. So the
He's a
price they
pain in
paid
the
for him
ass.
is wild. Yeah,
Yeah. If I'm a left back and we're lining up and I'm looking at the opponent's team sheet and I'm going, okay, I got to deal with this guy for 90 minutes. I'm not thrilled about it. Right? Right. It's
100%.
not right. It's not if looking at Anthony per se lining up on the right wing and going, oh, sweet. I'm going to get an 8.5 for standing there. Just
You know you're
watching
going to get
spin
spun one
like
time
a
though.
fidget spinner, right? Love that guy. So
No,
anyway,
I think
I
too.
think
I
I
think
think that, I think
I
it's
think
good.
I think us trying to address specific issues, goal scoring is a big one. And yeah, unfortunately, Hoyland's going to take a lot of the criticism on that. He was started as number 9, and I think that's more the club's fault. Like bringing in that young of a player, even for the 67 or 65 million that we paid for him, um, even though
Yeah,
even that price tag is still I know people were like, "Oh, it's too much money." No, as long as our money's not going into invest like into the owners' bank accounts and investors' bank accounts, it needs to go back in. So pay what you have to pay for the players that you think are going to work. Some are going to work, some aren't. This is just it's just football. It's life. It's never going to be perfect. But watching Hoyland just give everything last year. I mean, make every run, constantly pressing, and when he did, like you said earlier, make the right run at the right time, and the person with the ball wasn't looking for that or didn't know that was happening, that is like that has to stop. That we're not going to win matches. We're definitely not going to get back to where we want to be if that's not happening. So adding Cunha, great signing. His creativity, his aggression, his fearlessness, those are the things we need because signing for Manchester United's never been a simple thing for anyone. Stepping into a team that was top of the league year after year or always fighting for that, that brought its own kind of pressure. Like you have to meet our level. Now the level that we've appeared to have come down to, players are joining wanting to get back up to the top, and instead that pressure seems to be not allowing them to move freely, like to flow freely. There's so much worry about getting it wrong that they keep missing getting it right. So that's what's really exhausting me. So I like the 2 signings we've come up with so far. Could care less about the price that we paid for him. It's not my money. It's not Stan's money over in New York, and it's definitely not anybody's money in Asia, India, or in the UK. Like this is the money that the club is generating to pay for it. And you remember seeing for the first time, it's looking like we have somebody in charge who wants to use some of their own money to help us out instead of constantly just taking our own money, cashing in on the investment, and making sure dividends get paid out correctly and in the right timing. The fact that Jim and his buddies decided they want to throw some money in the pot at least shows me they're serious about understanding the difference between what we've been through with the people not wanting to actually help the club in the sense that this is my personal investment and I want to make sure it's there. They purchased the club in 2005, didn't spend a penny of their own money, took out loans, and now we're here, and there's nothing we can do about that. But the biggest thing we can do is sign players we know will address specific issues. Cunha, Great. We need more creativity. Bruno can't do it every single match all by himself constantly. And Bueno, he's going to score goals. Both of those guys are going to score goals and help out. And if we can spread that pressure out so that defenses can't just focus on one or two or even three players, they need to start worrying about four or five or six or seven players that can all contribute. I think that's where we're going to see a big difference. So I was reading that, you know, Fabrizio, the god himself, said that we're already like we have a list of strikers. That's the next thing that's going to happen. It's got to be somebody who's not afraid to come into the side and take that goal scoring opportunity. For Hoyland, the less pressure he can be under at this age and at this point, the better for him. So get players in who aren't afraid of the pressure. And Bueno's 25, Cunha's what, 27, 26 or 27, I think. Not sure on that. But Hoyland being young, Ahmad, I mean, obviously United and youth is synonymous. So we're going to have those younger players, but it's always been a great mix of players who know what they're doing. And that's why I like these two signings so much is they're bringing in years of Premier League experience. They're both coming off great seasons. That's not always the best sign that they're going to do well. But I do think spreading out that pressure away from Bruno and getting more guys with creativity in and finding a good striker, then we can move on to the midfield and maybe a defender. What do you think?
So yeah, that kind of takes me to what my next question was going to be for you is again moving into the rest of the window, and we've got obviously until September 1st, so about 40 days, right? 41 days left until deadline day. What is the next biggest position or the thing you'd like United to go out and get most? Putting a bow on the Hoyland stuff. In my personal opinion, players unfortunately are judged based off of what they're purchased for, but they have
Yep.
no control over it typically themselves. Rasmus Hoyland was purchased for 64 million with add-ons reaching potentially 72. Again, Mbuemo 65 with add-ons being 71. You look at those two costs and then previous production and you kind of scratch your head. Again, it makes me feel a little bit even better about the Mbuemo deal, knowing we paid almost virtually the same number for Rasmus Hoyland and we've seen what he's been able to come in to do. Again, I think striker has to be the next thing that we address. Not because I necessarily think it's the biggest need. I think striker and then goalkeeper for me personally. A lot of people are going to hear me say that. I think are the
I don't think
two.
anyone's going to hate you saying that. That's
I don't
got to
think
be
anyone
after what we
is
dealt with last
supportive
season.
of. Yes, but I think those two are kind of equal as far as most like biggest gap. Do I think going into the new season with Hoyland and Xerxes leading the line and Cheeto Obi Martin leading the line with the three of them, do I think that's the right thing? But I will say, if it happened, I wouldn't lose optimism, simply because they are three young players who I think have so much room to grow. You forget, last season was Xerxes' first season getting used to the league, right? Hoyland's had the extra year, but Xerxes getting used to the league, and I think that that takes a little bit. Plus, you look at where he's come even under Amorim throughout the second half of last season, right? Talk about getting subbed off, getting booed, right? Having your captain have to go pull you out and come back out, and then by the end of the season, having a lot of fans on his side again through his effort and his performances, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, the highlight of the season for me with him is the double nutmeg on Saliba,
So
right?
good.
That's fantastic, but obviously nutmegs don't go up on the scoreboard, unfortunately, unless
They
you're going
don't
to the
win
park,
matches.
right? That, we'll play a nutmeg counts as a goal, maybe at the parks, boys, if you're just trying to get funky with it. But point is, I think he still has upward trajectory. I think there's still a little
Oh,
bit of
absolutely.
trajectory with Hoyland even. But I do think striker's the next thing that they'll address, and there's obviously a list now that's been shortened with we've seen Ekatike moving on. I think we dodged a bullet on that one. I'll just say it. I think we did. Gyökeres, obviously, to Arsenal looks like a done deal. There were some rumors today. Oh, we're going to hijack it. United. No, we're not. Stop. Amorim's already said he wants players that want United. It was obvious that Victor wanted to be able to play in Europe. I think this is a very clever leak of information
Agreed.
from Sporting to get Arsenal to bump the money up. Maybe not similar to Brentford saying that Tottenham threw in a bid for 70 million earlier. Right? I think this is in the same vein. I don't think we're going after him. So call him out. Say, hey, Delap's gone to Chelsea, obviously, early in the window. So who's left? The more I think about it, and this is going to, people aren't going to like this, I don't think. But the more I think about it, as long as the price is good, which that's going to be the biggest question on anybody that we bring in, I feel gross a little saying is, I may be leaning to bring in Ollie Watkins as my first choice.
I know you said that. I was doing a bit of reading on him, and I understand. I think I understand where you're coming from. I'll give you a chance to talk about it, but I think too, like, I think we're so used to wanting big names, and I think the one thing, if you look at Amorim at Sporting, is he found the right players, not the biggest name players. Like, players came in and filled a spot the way they were supposed to, and that team was amazing. They didn't have a ton of standout players, not the way that Guy Karras, scored goals and assisted as freely as he has. Like, that's incredible to watch. The only other player I can remember from the Portuguese league doing that is Bruno. He used to just ball. 20-ish goals a season and almost 20-ish assists a season. So
Yeah.
Amorim saying, I only want players who want United. It has to be that way. Think of the years we went through. Alexis Sanchez, like signing players because they were big names, thinking that, we just need one or two more big names and then we'll finally get back to the top, when there was no structure for that to thrive in. So I think we're dealing with the structure side. We've got a manager who has his own system. He's dealt with players specific to his system. He hasn't been Louis van Gaal about it and just been so weird about it. He just said, like, as fans, we know the players who are frustrating us, who aren't playing up to the potential that they absolutely can. And so having a manager who backs that up with his statements has been a big deal. So seeing that change come about. So I don't know if we should sign Ollie Watkins. I have no idea. I do think, though, he would fit. I think he would score goals with a team that's made with players that are made into a team. And I think that's what we've been missing for quite a while. I saw a team under Solskjaer really well. I saw guys playing together. We scored freely. Like, there was a difference in there.
Ollie ball.
But I don't know about Ollie. But again, if he fits, if the manager thinks he's going to fit where he should fit, then the club should go get that player, because we're literally changing the way the team has played football for years when Amorim came in.
Take RA out of it. Take Sir Jim. Take Omar Barada out of it. Take everybody out of it. Who do you want to see? Who do you want to see them go get?
For me, I do watch a lot of Portuguese league. I enjoy it a lot. I think it's a fun league to watch. So I've been about Guy Karras for 2 seasons now, and I'd hoped.
He's dead.
I know. I had hoped he would join. If you're going with the next person in line, I was so high on him that I didn't have a second person, because I was convinced he would want to follow Amorim here and take that step. I was brokenhearted when Fabrizio came out and said he only wants Arsenal. That's good for him. It's his life. He needs to live it the way he wants and play where he gets a chance to play. So if the deal works out, good for him. If it doesn't work out, then hell yeah, like, good for him as well. Like, stay there and play at a club you've burned every bridge to. Like, make that happen. So obviously who we've been linked with, Guy Karras, Osimhen. I think he'd have been interesting, but I looked at his stats as well last season. No player missed more opportunities on goal. Even though he scores a lot of goals, he also misses a lot of opportunities. So he needs to be fed the ball a lot to score goals, if that makes sense. He's not very
Right. And
efficient in
if
front of
and if
goal.
and if Rasmus's issue was not getting enough service,
Exactly. Like I like Osman, not for me though, in my opinion. I think we need a striker who scores, but I don't think we need a 30-goal striker. We got to spread this around. Like Bruno's going to get his 10, 15, maybe even 20 goals every season. Dude is going to do it for another few years. I'm so glad he's staying. The money that he was being offered is ridiculous, and I don't know how a human walks away from that. But what about you? Like, I know you're going to talk about Ollie here in a second, but is there anyone else outside of him you'd like to see?
so the this goes back to what you said a minute ago around big name chasing it a little bit, right? And he maybe wasn't everybody's first name, but obviously Sesko is the one that people are talking about. We made the approach a year ago. He said, "Hey, I want to stay at Leipzig," but he's the 20, he's 21, going to be 22,
Yep.
younger guy. Some of the goals, if you go look at his highlights, he scores are insane, and a lot of people are calling for that because it's the big one. It's you're right. Him and Ekatike obviously are the bells of the ball behind, like you said, Osman and Gyökeres. So like, though that's the one that I think a lot of other people want. My my skepticism around that is, and we've seen it with this window, is what is he going to do outside of the league? Right? He's in the Bundesliga. I saw a really good tactical video around the Bundesliga and how a lot of that league, a lot of those teams play your standard 4-2-3-1 with a mid block on the in with their back four mostly sitting between the bottom of the halfway circle and the
Yes.
top of the D of the 18. Right, that back line stays right in there. There's not a lot of tactical variance in that league, right? And I know you watch a good amount of Bundesliga as well. It's very chess game, right? If you, every a lot of the games I feel like kind of have an energy about them that the two teams are trying to engineer each other open, right? And where it's again the chessboard, everybody's set up the same way before the game, and you have your pawns and your bishops and your knights and your rooks, and you move them around during the game to see what happens. And I feel like the Bundesliga is very much like that. That's why you see a lot of players like a Jadon Sancho, for example, that go and thrive there, and then they come to the Premier League, and they're seeing a different, maybe not a different look every week, but they're seeing a lot of different looks most
Yeah.
weeks. And I think you have players that aren't necessarily used to that. Again, like an Anthony that comes in, right, where he's king of the castle at Ajax, right, where they're one of the best teams in the league, if not arguably obviously the best team most seasons in that league, and teams are setting up that way. Whereas you come to United, especially, lately, where we're not just the one bossing everyone around and they're just sitting back in a low block and that's what you're going to get every week. But I think there's a bit of an issue. And for me, if we're going to go get Sesko, it's probably going to look in the upwards of 75, 80 million pounds. Like, realistically, that's what it's going to cost. Are you willing to spend that much money again on a player from another league that isn't necessarily it? Now you look at the profile, he's 6'5". He's got pace. Some of the goals that he scores are stupid.
Straight
Right? Like
world
some of the
is
goals he
he's a
scores
good goal
are,
scorer.
yeah, and you can't deny that. And this is why there's people that are at the club that get paid a lot of money to do what they do, and hopefully do it better than we do, sitting here talking about it, right?
Hopefully.
But well, not lately, but not the last few windows, but the amount of money that you're going to pay for the guy, because again, young, tons of potential, good goals where he comes from, the profile, the trajectory, right? You're paying for the fact that if he pans out, he could be your guy for years. And ultimately that's why that price tag goes up. That's why Rasmus Højlund, when we paid for him, cost 64.
Yeah.
It was because he was super young and all the, insert the narrative here. You're getting that for Sesko, but you're getting a guy that's even a little bit better, obviously, than Rasmus Højlund was when we bought him.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely.
has arguably a higher trajectory depending on who you talk to.
I'd like to see Cisco. I know the price that Arsenal, they were talking 90 to 100 at some point. Like,
Right. And so,
and same thing with Saudi Arabia. I know they like had
well, yeah,
come
they're
in.
going to add 10 to 15% on what the rest of the world's going to pay. That's what they're going to
Yeah.
kill on.
I don't know about strikers. Like, I feel like it's not the best summer. You go through summers where it feels like three or four great strikers suddenly are available. And I think this year we've got a couple, but I think if we can deal striker next, I think we have to do something about goalkeeper. Onana made eight errors that led to goals, highest in the league by double. No other keeper made more than
Eight's being
four.
nice.
No,
I feel like
that
the
is
number should be higher.
that. I mean, it feels like it was 40, but eight errors that led directly to goals. If you think about us adding goal scorers and getting rid of those errors, it's a different season. So I think that's got to be a priority
Yeah.
in there. So I don't know, but I think hopefully in the next, by the time they're back from the U.S., they got 3 matches. By the time they're back from the U.S., hopefully we've figured out the striker and a goalkeeper. That's my hope. And if we can do it, give those guys time to gel before that opening match, because we play Arsenal opening match. Like, this season's starting off with the bang, and I'd prefer not to be bottom of the table when we start, because us playing Arsenal it's a great match every year. But I'd like to see us be ready for that and not still trying to haggle, get the right players in, before September 1st.
Yeah, and that's going to depend. We now know, obviously, on outgoings. I'll get to again. My thought is, I mean, it does come down to the money because ultimately we've only got so much of it to spend because of FFP, right? We don't have an oil sheik that pays off everyone that watches that stuff. Just throwing grenades over the wall. But depending on what the price tag is, I think for like an Ollie Watkins, I think Villa's number is maybe a 70 million. They've had eyes on Garnacho at some point, right? Obviously we've also had eyes for Emi Martinez. Apparently, Ruben Amorim has. So it would be interesting to see what kind of business could get done. Obviously, he's 29. You look at how much time he's got left on the contract, how long you think maybe he would be the guy, right?
He could be the guy for a decade. Goalkeepers can play. I mean,
Oh, you're talking about Martinez. Okay, I
yeah,
was
yeah.
thinking of Watkins, but like
Oh,
he's
yeah,
20.
no. Yeah,
Watkins is
Ollie's up,
20.
but that's why I think he could be a good addition is because he's not young. We've got youth. Like, we've got some Cheetah Obi, Hoyland. I mean, we've got guys that are young.
Yeah, I think again, if you look at Obi Martin's timeline, he'll be 18 soon. When do you want him leading the line? 2021? Maybe 21 years old, so 3 years from now? Okay. Is Watkins a stopgap for 3 years? Right? Sesko, you buy Sesko because you want him to be the guy for the next 10.
Right.
Watkins, you buy as a 2 to 3 year stopgap. And you hope that Cheeto Obi Martin's ready at that point, which he could be. And, he had 16 goals and 8 assists last year in the Premier League playing. Or he played for a total of 38 matches, but he had 16 goals, 8 assists for 24 combined. That wouldn't suck.
That would not suck. Not after what we experienced, not after what we went through. That would not suck.
If
That is
you
correct.
if you added him, and again, goals would be more dispersed throughout the team, but just for sake of come with me on this journey. 16 goals from him, 15 from Cunha, 20 from Mbuemo. That's 20 and 15 at the two attacking midfielders for 35, and 16 from your 9 for 51.
That's more than we scored last
goals
year.
we scored last season in those three players alone.
Uh,
So he's probably going to cost 70 million pounds, which means Garnacho's got to go like next week. We've got the rumor, basically here we go, of Rashford on loan, not by, we know Barcelona's a little bit cash strapped, but we knew that deal was going to get done. They're going to pay, rumor is, all of his weekly wages though
Correct.
on his line, which helps our wage bill. That's 325,000 pounds a week that we don't have to deal with. Thank you. Right? Spotify is going to be where a lot of you guys are going to listen to this podcast, and they're also the ones paying Barcelona for the sponsorship that's likely going to have to go straight to Rashford's salary.
I
So
think
share
they've
this
sold
with
off
all of your
everything they
friends.
own for
Yeah,
sponsorship.
share this with all of your friends on Spotify. Give them all the link. Text everyone the Spotify link for this podcast so that those numbers run up, so that Spotify can pay Barcelona what they have to make sure Rashford's salary goes there next season, right? With 30 million roughly is I think what's being said is the potential obligation to buy. I'd love it if they could work in a penalty for not buying him next season. I think that would be lovely, like good bit of business, like what we did with the Sancho debacle. Who's again, he's linked with a couple different places. That's got to go. I think 15 million is his price tag, which oofta,
Yeah.
based on what we're doing. But yeah, we'll see. Those got to go. Again, you got to put your foot down with the guys that Amram wants out. It's got to happen. And Watkins might happen. The other option at goalkeeper, getting into the goalkeeper thing. So again, for me, Watkins is my guy. Also, Nico Jackson. I have a buddy that's a Chelsea fan. I was really good friends with him before I found out he was a Chelsea fan. So for everybody listening, sorry. He's also a great human being. So not everybody's perfect. He likes Chelsea. It's okay. Right? He's not a Liverpool fan. He has a pass. He's not that. But he isn't pro Nico Jackson, but he's not as anti as so many people are. He doesn't give him as much hate as the guy does get from most Chelsea fans and just fans in general for his lack of goal production. Again, I don't think he's the right choice, but if he was 30 million,
Yeah, which he's not. They're
but
I mean they're going to
which he's
want
not,
60
they're
at
going to ask
least.
60. Which if they're going to ask 60 and you can get Watkins for 70, fork over the other 10.
Yeah, maybe. But if you look at that, it's just like Nico Jackson. It's the same thing as a Hoyland. Like, yes, young, active, a big ceiling. Like, there's room to grow. But again, why spend that much money when we already
On
know
that.
we need somebody who needs to score? So, I don't, I don't.
And that's my thing. And that's exactly my thing. Again, it does matter how much you're going to pay for it. I mean, Nico Jackson had a total of 15 goals and assists last season, with only a 13.2% conversion rate. That's
Yeah,
not good. So I think he's out. Again, we're being linked. I think that is maybe, hopefully, to get clubs that we're really going after to think, oh, they're also in for that guy, so maybe they're not super,
oh,
maybe they'll
agreed.
start.
It hasn't come through any serious reporter or any serious news outlet for that. But we know we deal with this every summer. United is thrown
What,
into the
last summer
mix.
we were linked to 156 different players, I think was the grand total
Yep.
for last summer's window. So,
I think
shocker.
on average, it's over 100 players every summer that were possibly linked. And I think I've seen at least this year, at least like 15 goalkeepers, some I've never even heard of.
Yeah,
But
I will say this. Yeah, they said it on the Leeds broadcast yesterday. I think it was 156 different players last summer's window we were linked to at one point. So, yeah,
well, well, listen, we got work to do. We know that for a fact, and I think we're off to a good start. I wish this would have been done a month ago. These two, so we've been already on to the others. But
yeah,
again, I'm not in the offices. I'm not sure of the conversations, and I'm not sure what's going on. But I do think we're off to a great start. I know you do too. And
yeah.
obviously for the club next, they head to America in a couple of days. They're coming our way. They're not coming to any city we live in, unfortunately.
No,
I was going to road trip, but
2023,
it's not going to work out this year.
2023 tour, San Diego. There's the scarf. I was
I
there.
love it. Yeah, I've
I'll
been to a
bring you
few.
up.
I went to Chicago. We saw them in Phoenix back 7 or 8 years ago.
So I'm the tchotchke guy. So here's my Man United mug. That was frozen at one point. Had some water in it. And
Yeah,
then
I've got those.
next episode, I will, since it'll be officially within the window of the tour. I will bring my cups. Yes, I saved the beer cups from Snapdragon Stadium. in San
Oh,
Diego.
funny.
I've got the aluminum mugs or aluminum cans, or not cans. They're like a cup. You could take it home with you. Obviously, I had more than a few of them. Brought them all home with me.
I'm with you. I
But
got all
hopefully
that stuff
those
too.
goes out on the next episode since the USA tour's here. I will say this. I'm pronouncing this probably wrong, but Sen Lemaire, the Belgian goalkeeper, keep an eye on him. Antwerp.
I saw his name being linked, but I haven't seen much about him.
4 million? I'm sorry, but younger kid kept them. He made saves that looked like, I'm not going to say it, certain Spanish guy we used to have.
Oh, don't
Uh,
get me going.
I know. But he propped them up a little bit. Younger goalkeeper, and again for 7 or 8 million, as opposed to an Emmy Martinez who's going to cost what 35, 40.
Yeah, they
They're going to
want
try.
their money
They're
for
going to
him.
try to rake us over the coals. So is that a position where again you maybe get a younger guy that can come compete with him, not up for the top spot? Likely take it from him. Let's be honest, and not again spend the 7 to 8 on that, and then go spend 70, 80 if we had to on the right striker.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I guess we get to see
We'll
it play
see.
out just like we do every season. All right, so first episode's off the ground. If you like what you hear or even don't like it, subscribe to it. We're going to work this out and get a lot better, and we just want to have a chance to talk about United. We're obviously incredibly far away from home base out there in the UK, but we still love them just as much, and we're here to do it. So um, find us. We're out here mainly on Spotify, but give us a follow. You'll see us on all the socials. So shoot us a message. Let us know what you think. But we're excited to be on here and talk United all the time.
Absolutely, and we'll put the captions on here for you guys. But yeah, Desert Devils MUFC on Instagram, Desert Devils FC on X. Same handle on Threads as Instagram. Obviously, those are connected, so we'll make sure we get that out to everybody as well. I'm working with a certain Instagram account somewhere in the Middle East that has a defunct one, so we'll make them all together the same ones. We had to throw MUFC on the Instagram and the Threads just because of we'll call it licensing agreements, but
Yeah, we
existing
can find those. We can make that
we'll
happen.
get those out to everybody as well. But I'm just pumped to do this. Been a long time United fan. I think at some point we'll get into our origin stories, if you will, around how a couple of dorks from the United States, a couple of desert rats get into being Manchester United fans at the level that we are. Again, those stories will come in future episodes, but give us a like, give us a follow. More importantly, if there's something that you liked that you heard, if there's something you want to hear next time, give us a shout. We'd love to hear about it. We'd love to talk about it and give you a shout out. A couple shout outs. Shout out to Brad Galt. Shout out to David Fisher. Shout out to Dane Johnson. Those are 3 individuals that commented on our socials prior to the show and mentioned some things that they wanted to hear. So if there's something you want to hear and you want to shout out on the show, send it to us. We'll make sure we give you a holler.
Beautiful. Shout out to those guys for jumping in. And if you made it all the way to the end of this first episode, well done. Way to hang with us. We love you. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good one.
Glory, glory, Man United, baby.